Okay, now we're gonna talk about how to analyze the truth value of some statements. We're gonna begin with some easy statements, and then we're gonna go like exploring more complex statements. Okay, we're gonna start first with a conjunction, an easy one. Okay, uh, an exercise could say like find the truth value of P and Q. If I already know that the statement P is true and the statement Q is false. So I know some values of the individual parts, but I am asked to find the true value of the entire statement. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a tiny table to analyze each individual value. Okay. So we're gonna begin talking about P and talking about Q. Okay. The idea is we're gonna create this statement, and to create it you cannot jump and like immediately say P and Q. No, because the AND requires you already having P and already having Q. So like when you say P and Q, you're like, okay, do you have P? No, I don't have it. You need to put it on the table first, and that is basically what allows you to say like, yes, I have it on the table. Okay, do you have Q? Yes, I have it on the table. So because I have both things, that means I can put this expression. Okay, so I'm gonna put that expression in here. Okay, so let's try analyzing the truth values of this things. Okay, so let's start individually. What is the truth value of P? The exercise already tells me that P is true. You can see it in here. It says P is true. So I know that this one will be true. Yes? Now, what about Q? It says that Q is false. It's in here. It says that Q is false. So I know that Q is false. Yes? I'm going to use capital F. Okay? So I know that P is true and Q is false. Now what about P and Q, like the combination of these two? Once I grab these two and I combine them with an AND. Okay, is this true or false? We need to remember the rule for AND. Okay, as we discussed before, AND is only true when both of them are true. In any other case it will be false. If you realize, this is a different case because they're not both true. Only one of them is true. So it cannot be true because in order to be true I need both of them to be true. So no, this thing will be false. Okay, and I could put something like this to explain that the truth value is false. Okay, and that will be kind of like the answer for my exercise. The truth value is false. I already proved it in here. Okay, now let's try working with a different exercise. Okay, let's go with another exercise. I'm gonna erase this. And instead of working with AND, let's work with OR. Okay, so let's use the symbol for OR. I'm gonna copy it from here. Okay, so what about P or Q? Okay, and let's keep it this way. Okay, let's keep P as true and Q as false. Okay, so I'm asked to find the truth value of this. Remember what I told you before. I cannot write something like this if I don't have the pieces first. Do I have P in my table? No, so I cannot copy this entire thing until I individually copy each one of the parts. So I'm gonna start by placing P. Then I'm gonna place Q. And once that I have these two things, I can place like the entire statement. So now that I have this, I could like start analyzing each one of them. Okay, P, what is the truth value of P? I know that the exercise says that P is true. So I'm going to put a capital T in here to say that P is true. Now what about Q? The exercise says in here that Q is false. So Q would be false. Yes. And what about the expression, the statement in here, P or Q? This is a disjunction, so I'm gonna have to check the rules for disjunction. Okay, so a disjunction is false in this case, double F. Now I don't have a double F in here, okay, so it's not gonna be false. It's basically gonna be true. Remember that disjunction means one of them at least has to be true. And yes, letter P is true. So at least one of them is true. So I know that this statement will be true. Okay. So I could say in here the truth value is true. Okay. If you realize it's kind of like a little bit simple. Okay, now let's try solving one more. Okay, let's try placing this thing where let's make things a little bit interesting. Okay, let's put a conditional in here. Okay, and we're making it like kind of like in the opposite way, Q then P. Okay, so which are the parts? The parts are Q and P. Okay, so I'm gonna have to put always the parts first. I cannot write something like this because this requires me having Q and I don't have Q on the table, and having P also and I don't have P on the table. So I'm gonna copy them. Kind of like as tradition, we usually tend to put P first, but it doesn't matter. You could put Q first, and that's not gonna change the exercise. Okay, so I put P and Q because those are the pieces of the exercise, and the exercise itself will be Q then P. So let's analyze the truth values in here. As the exercise said, because I didn't change it, P is true, so I'm gonna put true for P, and it says also that Q is false, so I'm gonna put false for Q. Yes, and here's the interesting part. Okay, and I want you to pay attention in here because this is something important that you need to understand about conditionals. This is kind of like why I am writing this thing backwards, like in the opposite way, so that you can see something interesting. Okay, is this thing true or false? We're gonna have to check the rule for the conditional, right? And the conditional tells me that if I have a case TF, then it will be false. Any other case will be true. For example, if instead of TF what I have is FT, then that will be true. If I have double T, then it will also be true. And if I have double F, then it will also be true. The only way I could get false is if I have TF, okay? T on the first one and F on the second one, okay? Now let's see this thing, okay? Once you see the exercise, yes, you can see a T in here, you can see an F in here. So some of you might be thinking, okay, this thing is going to be false because I have a TF. No, it's not the case if you remember what I just said before, okay? This thing is false is if I have T on the first one and F on the second one. Now, who is the first one here? Check the statement. Who is the first one? The first letter that is mentioned is Q. So the first one is actually Q. So the first one is F. And the second one is P. So the second one will be T. So this is not actually TF because I need to read them in the order they appear. So this is not TF, this is actually FT. So it's not the case that I showed here before. So it will be a different case. That means it will be true and it wouldn't be false as maybe we might think at the beginning. So this thing will be true. I could put that the truth value is true. Let's finish with a last one, okay? Because we haven't seen a little bit about negation, so let's try using negation, okay? Let's copy the symbol for negation from here. Okay, I have negation. Let's make things kind of like interesting, okay? Let's make negation of P. Let's do it like twice, okay? To make things interesting. Okay, and let's leave this instruction again like the same way. You might change it and there's no problem with that, like if you want to solve different exercises, okay? But for purposes of this kind of like explanation, we're gonna leave it like that, okay? So let's see. Remember that I cannot write this thing at once. I need to write the parts first. Now, which are the parts of this statement? The simplest part of all is P. So I'm gonna need P first, yes? Now, you see a negation here, but what is this negation doing? This negation is basically affecting the entire parenthesis. So we could consider the parenthesis as another part. Okay? So I could put like the entire thing inside the parenthesis. I don't need to put the parenthesis. I just need to put the things inside. That will be kind of like a piece of the puzzle that we're trying to create in here. Okay? I need you to understand that I wouldn't be able to write this first if I don't have P, because even though this is also a piece, it's built with two more pieces, which is basically the P and the negation that is going to be applied to that P. Okay? Now, you're not going to put negation like the symbol of negation on your own, like something like this. Okay? You're not going to put just like negation, because negation needs of something. Okay? All of these symbols, they need the variable, so it's some nonsense to put this. So I'm not going to put like negation and only that. No. Okay? I'm going to use the letter P to talk about the negation of P. Okay? And I can use the P because I already had it before. You only use things that you had before on the table. And now that I have negation of P, I can negate that thing again. Okay, so now I can put this thing. So, okay, once we have this, we can start like analyzing, because I already have the statement of the exercise. And yes, some of you might be thinking, what about Q? Q is not part of the exercise, even though I have a truth value for Q. On the statement that I am trying to analyze, there is no Q, so it will be kind of like a waste of space putting Q because we're not going to use it. So I'm not going to put letter Q in this case. So let's see. P is true, right? That's what the exercise says from the beginning. Okay, so P is true. Now, after that, we're going to see like the first part of the problem here, negation of P. There's nothing in here that explains me about negation of P. But if you remember, negation is an operation in logic, so let's check if we have a rule for negation. And yes, we have a rule for negation that says that negation changes the sign. What does this mean? This means that if I have true for P, then the negation will change that true with a false. As simple as that. Now let's see the other one. I have negation of the negation. Now I know the negation originally is false. If I find the negation of that, it's basically changing the sign again. So I will change the sign. Instead of false, I'm going to put true. So basically the negation only changes the sign. Once we have this, we basically already know the truth value of the statement that was asked. So I can put that the truth value is true in this case, right? Okay. We're gonna leave it here. This is basically how to analyze the truth value of some particular statements, and we're gonna continue with more complex things, okay? But we first need to understand this before we proceed with other stuffs.